pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is Reverend Crothers here tonight? I don't see him. I'll give our invocation then. Dear God, we give you thanks for the beauty of this day and our opportunity to come together to, through you, do the work of this city. Let us do it intelligently, and let us do it in the best interest of all of our citizens. In your name we pray. Amen.
Oh, one to a person. Look at somebody fall.
Councilman Gabaraki has asked to be excused, so we'll start with Councilman Templin.
Present.
Councilman Cisco.
Present.
Councilman Hayes.
Present.
Councilman DeGiulio.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Keenan.
Present.
Treasurer Armstrong is asked to be excused, and Mayor Mategas.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Moved by
Support.
Councilman Hayes, supported by Councilman Templin. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you. Approval of the minutes for May 12th, 2015. Could I have a motion there?
So moved there, Mayor.
Moved by Councilman DeGiulio. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hayes. Is there any discussion on the minutes?
So, I'm going to start doing that. Second myself. I'll show.
Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is carried. Thank you again. The organizational business, the city administrator has an update for us tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. The official date of the move to the new temporary City Hall site will be Friday, June 5th. Because of the moving schedule by Corrigan Movers, we will need probably to be closed on Monday, June 8th to the public. Also, until the elevators are operational, we'll have someone near the entrance to assist anyone that cannot navigate the steps down into City Hall. There's like a 3-step drop. Departments have begun packing for the move. Council meetings will continue in this building until the cameras and sound and the podium can be moved and set up. The rough estimate for our first meeting in the new building as a council would be probably July. I'll have more on that in the coming weeks. The owner of the property on Allen Road, also known as the gun range, did not show up for his court hearing last Thursday. Tickets were issued and the building department is starting the process of demolition. The chief spoke to Lieutenant Beggs from the Dearborn Police Department. They are putting together a pricing model for their jail facility. The lieutenant did state that everything looks favorable for them to commit to us, but the Dearborn chief needs to pass this through the appropriate channels. He will call us back when he knows more, and we're hoping to have that resolved within the next few weeks. Staff and consultants had a conference call with Standard & Poor's last week to review and update the city's financial status for the new bond rating. The results are expected in 2 weeks. On the repair front, concrete repairs are scheduled to begin on Philomene today. I don't know if they occurred. I didn't get a chance to talk to Terry today. And I know the Vine Street will begin to be repaired about a week and a half from now, and that will be tearing up and replacing the concrete in front of the middle school. The library parking lot will be redone starting on June 2nd. That is scheduled for tearing up and replacing the asphalt. On the tax front, taxes are going to be going down for city residents. I just completed the L4029 that's filed with the county clerk, and it shows that city taxes will be reduced by 0.9712 mils from last year's tax bill. That would mean that a homeowner with a taxable value of roughly $50,000 would see a reduction of almost $50,000 in their summer tax bill on the city taxes. $50, what did I say?
I thought they were going to jump up and start dancing.
I was just trying to get an applause out of them, you know. I thought maybe, I want to see if you're awake. It's $50, honest. The third annual Unity Walk is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, July 16th at 6:30. More details will be posted on the website after staff makes confirmations. The city contractor for waste disposal, Republic Services, would like to remind everyone that because of the holiday this last weekend, the collections will be delayed by 1 day this entire week. Residents should place their solid waste, recycling, or waste materials out for collection 1 day later than usual, and they will occur through Saturday, and then we'll be back on the right schedule starting next Monday. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I'll go to public comments at this point. And let me just read our rules of decorum. An individual may only speak on an issue after the individual has been recognized by the chairperson. Comments from the floor shall be made at the podium, at the front of the council table, or at such other areas designated by the chairperson. Prior to an individual speaking from the floor, the individual shall identify themselves and state their address for the record. All comments shall be directed only to the chairperson. Speakers are not to address other members of the council or members of the audience. Each member of the public may speak for up to 4 minutes. All written statements should be given to the city clerk prior to the meeting so that copies may be made available to the members of the public body. No individual shall be allowed to make any defamatory attack or invasion of another individual's personal life. There shall be no questions, comments, discussions, or attacks regarding anybody's personal life. Chairperson shall immediately rule out of order any person who begins to bring up such issues. If the chairperson does not do so, any member of the council may call for a point of order and request the chairperson to be ruled out of order. If the chairperson does not rule the offending party out of order, the council may call for an appeal of the decision. If the chairperson's decision is overturned, the offending party shall be deemed to be out of order. If the person making the comments is allowed to continue, the person who is being challenged or whom the comments are made against shall be entitled to make immediate rebuttal statement. The purposes of these rules as they relate to elected officials or city officials, the term personal life shall refer to anything other than that which is said or done in the person's official capacity as an elected official or in the person's official city capacity. Members of the public body may question the speakers, but the members of the public body are not obligated to answer any questions or make any statements on the issue raised or discussed by the speaker. Issues may be referred to the appropriate body, department, or individual for investigation and review. No person or group shall be allowed to disrupt the meetings or proceedings. Any individual who fails to comply with these rules after having first been warned by the chairperson to cease such actions shall be ordered by the chairperson to leave and or be ejected from the meeting. With that, anyone like to come forward and make any comments or ask questions at this time?
Good evening, Brian Debo, Allen Park. I have some concerns regarding the general fund budget for 2015-2016. In Mr. Cady's cover letter, he talks about the general fund adjustment of tax revenues for decrease in taxable value, a drop of $3.8 million. Now, that implies to me that our tax value of our homes decreased by $3.8 million. But if you look at the backup information, $2.6 million is because we took the proceeds from the loan this year. There is an increase in value of the property operating that line item of almost $460,000. Now that's offset by a judgment of a tax levy of $600,000, which becomes a wash. But the bulk of the money is at $2.6 million, and I think the phrasing there is wrong and it's actually misleading. There's also some grants, less grants. There's also some decrease in the revenue line item called miscellaneous, et cetera. But the bulk is $2.6 million. Now also, if you take a look at the numbers for the end of the year, of this fiscal year, actually at the end of May, we show a surplus of $5.9 million. And at the end of the year, we show a surplus of $2.3 million. Now, assuming that we spend the $3.7 million in June, we end up with the surplus of $2.3 million approximately. If you add that to the surplus from last year, the reserve, that's $3.3 million plus $2.3 million. We're looking at a reserve of $5.6 million, which means to me we pay all of our bills, and June 30th, 2015, we have $5.6 million in a bank. That's per these numbers. Am I wrong with my interpretation of these numbers?
Do you want me to respond to that?
If you'd like to.
The $2.6 million you're referring to is from where, you're saying?
The proceeds from the loan that we took this
The
year
two-
that we're not taking next year.
The $2.6 million loan that we got was turned over to PNC Bank within a week after we got it.
I understand. I'm looking at your numbers where we're going to end the year, and you took a look at the revenue from, I'm assuming you took the amended budget from 2014-15 and compared that to the projected for 2015-16. The difference there is actually 3.5 million. It's not the 3.8, and the bulk of that is from the loan that we took this year that we're not going to take next year.
It's tough to look at, if you're looking at May, you're correct, but unfortunately, May is not the end of the year. It's
I'm
June.
saying at the end of
And
the year,
there are a lot of write-offs and corrections that happen in June that
you project
kind of right the ship, so to speak.
You project $2.3 million at the end of the year. That's the column amended budget for 2014, 2015. It says $2.3 million.
Well, that's just the number that it shows right there as the end of May, I believe.
No, the end of May, you show $5.9 million. The end of the year, end of June, you show $2.3 million. It's on page 21. If you're familiar with Excel, it's line item 697 and 699. It's right there. That's your print. And then if you add it to last year's reserve, which is backed by the audit report, the audit report said we had a reserve of $3.3 million, and that came out in October. I mean, I'm not making these numbers up. I'm reading right off your spreadsheets. My concern is that $5.6 million dedicated for anything? Is it going to get back to the taxpayers? What's going to happen with that $5.6 million?
It's fund balance.
Yes, that's the reserve,
Yes.
is the fund balance. Okay, so we're just going to go with the rainy day fund, $5.6 million at the end of,
According to Order 35, we don't have a choice.
okay. But it is $5.6 million projected at
I
the end
don't
of the
know
year.
what it'll be at June 30th. That's just my projection right now.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Robert Turner. I've been asking that question for a month now. What's the expected fund balance is June the 30th, 15. And did I hear correctly? It's like $5.3 million. Is that going to be the fund balance in June?
It could be.
Okay, I know what, I'm going to put a FOIA in, okay? Okay, the state's order, I think it's 37, order. It says the fund balance should be 10 to 15% of the budget, and 1.2 to cover a debt liability. Okay, the debt liability, I just made those two both put together about $4 million. So where Brian is going, he said if we reach a certain level on that fund balance, it should be consideration to the taxpayers to rescind some of that increase.
You have to remember, sir, that we'll also be adding to that debt with the refinance of the Southfield lease properties, which is
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I
$26
looked at the
million.
budget. Yeah, you're adding. You got the 1.2. You got another 0.4 for that other bond. Yeah, that's a good question. On that bond, 210GO, is there cash money in that bond? I mean, available to be used? I know one of the bonds, 2010C, there was money in that cash of that bond. Is this the same one?
There's money there.
Okay, so in theory, that money could be used to build a city hall, right? It could be used for city hall.
Yes.
Okay. One more question. In reference to the $500,000 that's being turned over to the streets, $500,000, is that new money going to them, or is that money we owed them from a previous transaction?
That's new money to help repair roads.
Good, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stephen Toltesi. I live on Andrews Avenue in Allen Park. I'm a class of 2015 graduate this year from Allen Park High. It's come to my attention that graduation has been changed from being at the recreational center to here at the municipal building. And I just wanted to point out to you guys that the grass and vegetation in the front just looks kind of untouched. It hasn't been cleaned up in a long time, and I think it should look a little more presentable. Graduation day is June 5th, and I just kind of wanted to ask you guys if you plan on someone coming out and cleaning that up, because me and my friends kind of want this place to look a little nicer for graduation day.
Does he want to volunteer?
We will,
You will.
we'll address the issues out in front of the building.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Al Wojcinski, Vine Avenue. I have a question. We got $250K from the Hill. That was quote-unquote, it's going to the police and fire. Well, it went into the general fund. Is there a way we can claw back that money into the police and fire, where it was designed to go to? We were lied to by Ms. Parker. Okay. Also, what is the starting salary of an Allen Park police officer?
About 34.5 right now.
But we just approved and voted.
Yeah, but it hasn't been changed by the RTAB hasn't
Oh,
approved it yet.
the council has approved an increase to 38.5, I think.
Yes.
For starting?
But our tab is not approved, remember?
Yeah, I
That was
know.
just done at a time when they couldn't get it before them in their May meeting.
So in other words, our tab's holding us up a little bit.
Right, but it should go through June 3rd, I think, is when they'll meet.
That's their meeting.
I'll be there. Also, what about the holiday pay for the police officers? And when will they start being paid time and a half for time and a half work? They work 12 hours a day for 12 hours pay. Where I came from, you work 12 hours, you got time and a half for 4 hours. When will that start for the officers?
It's in negotiations.
Yeah, we're negotiating with our police department at this time, and we're also negotiating with the fire department.
Okay. This is a quality of life issue. Behind the Thunderbolt, where the gun range is, they're dumping everything there. I was there, and it's getting messy. Also, according to what everybody's been saying, we're going to have a surplus of how much? I mean, or are we going to break even?
No, there will be a surplus.
Can we use that to hire more police?
Not my call.
We voted to hire 2 more police officers. We're attempting to do that now. We have, I don't think, anybody on a current list from which to choose from, which is very unusual for this city, but for a number of reasons that we don't need to go into at the
And
moment,
the one biggest reason being their pay scale.
probably.
And what about this building? Who's interested in it? Is the
Time.
Boji Group still interested in this?
Time equities.
Time Equities next door is going to buy it?
They have an offer on the table.
Okay. And when will a demolition occur on this?
Well, it's not
We don't
gonna-
know.
It probably will not occur this summer.
It's already starting. Just take a walk down the hall. You'll see it's demolishing itself.
Yeah, take a look at the ceilings, they're turning brown. And thank you for the info about Dearborn taking our prisoners. It's a lot better than Melvindale.
Do you want me to address this first question on the 250,000?
Oh, sure.
Your first question, I had to think about that a minute. You're referring to the 250,000 that's transferred from the Brownfield Fund to the general.
Correct.
That's transferred general fund, but police and fire are paid out of the general fund. So
No, what I was talking about, it was supposed to be specifically, it was specifically designed for the police and fire, not the general fund.
But the general fund is where police and fire are paid out of.
Okay. We're going to agree to disagree on that point.
It goes to general fund, and that's where they're paid out of. The police and fire themselves don't have a revenue account. They're just expenditure accounts. So in the general revenue, where all the revenue goes, that's where it's recorded.
I think what Al's trying to ask, and forgive me if you don't mind me putting words in your mouth, did their budget go up by $250,000 when that?
That's exactly what I'm asking. Did the budget go up for
No.
police and fire?
No, but you got to remember too that what we levy, the 6.75 mils we levy isn't enough to pay for police and fire.
I understand that. Thank you. And to Mr. Mizzy hiding back behind the chair there.
Al, forgive me, but your time's up. I don't know if you heard that ring.
No, I was just going to say, it's good to see Mr. Mizzy back on the council table. Thank you.
Ray McGuston, Quant, citizen of Allen Park. Got a couple questions. Is there ordinance, or through the chair to Mike, do you know if there's an ordinance on the size of our trash containers that we are allowed to put out on the street?
I do believe, and it states 30 or 32 gallons.
The reason why I'm asking is, are our citizens being told by our trash pickup individuals that we are only allowed to put out a certain gallon out there? And if there's any larger, they're not being picked up and not being emptied?
That is in the ordinance, though. I have it here, but I do know right off that it is either 30 or 32, and they will not, and I do know that from personal experience. I put out my bigger one like 3 weeks, this was years ago, but 3 weeks in a row, and it didn't get picked up, and I ran down to the DPS director, and he goes, well, how big is it? And he says, well, that's why. So.
But they are supposed to tag it, Ray. If that's what you're asking. It's not, it can't be bigger than 32 gallons, but they're supposed to put a tag on it and tell you why it's not picked up. If that's not happening, then we need to.
So if there's only one if it's too big, too large, too tall, or whatever it is, or the wrong color, and there's only one little bag inside there, they're not picking it up. They're being told that it's too big.
Right. Can't be bigger than
Wow.
32 gallons.
Okay, just curious, this so our citizens know. One more question, I'm going to bring up this thing about the property, you know, the gun range. Is that costing the city anything right now? And will it cost the city anything right now? And when it comes time to go knock that thing down, is it going to cost the city something? And when it does, are we going to go back and sue this individual? And then in the future, are we going to go ahead and require bonds on property like this so we don't do this 3 times already? I mean, this is like the 3rd time that we are going to knock this place down. It's costing us money every single time, and our lawyers love us.
The answer is initially it'll cost us money, but all that will be placed on the taxes as a lien against the property. So if the owner wants to retain the property, he'll have to pay us back.
So then we're going to be able to take it back after 3 years and 6 months?
Or somebody else will buy it on a tax sale, but we should get our money back either way. As I said, we'll pay to clean it up and to tear it down if the owner is non-responsive. But we will place those costs as a lien against the property.
Are we trying to recoup that money right now when we're taking them to court on this?
Well, he's paying, he's being issued tickets, and I understand that the last batch of tickets he did pay when he was given another chance, but I was just informed, as I reported, that he did not show up in court last Thursday for his court appearance, and more tickets were issued. So.
To go back to your question, I think if I heard you correctly, is it costing us anything right now? No.
No.
But as Bob said, if we go through the Dangerous Buildings Commission and through that procedure, then we pay to tear it down and remediate the area, and then it's put on the taxes as a lien against that property. When it changes hands, we have to be paid before anybody else can do anything with it.
Okay, you have sent, Mr. Mayor, you got anything to say on that? I mean, the way you're looking at me, it's just like,
Well, if it's a transfer to another individual by the seller, the liens would have to be paid first.
okay,
If he forfeits it by taxes, the county will not pay us back for the cost we use to repair the property.
the reason why I'm asking, because every one of you are our fiduciaries, if you know it or not. Thank you very much.
Private property is a big issue. It's not easy just to take something from somebody.
I understand, Bob, thank you. Have a great day.
Charles Lone Champagne. First off, great job to Mr. K for a very informational report. I'm glad for the updates, especially about Vine Street, because I just drove down it the other day and it's all bad. Next, I hope everyone had a great Memorial Day, especially a fantastic Memorial Day parade we had, even though I can't catch any candy when everyone was throwing at me and stuff, but I'm just glad that we still have, our city still has a Memorial Day parade, because I know some cities don't get that opportunity to do it. I'm also glad that we are still doing the Unity Walk parade each year, just more events in our city to keep it positive. Next, any updates on the Wayne County roads, like especially like I mentioned in the past about on the hill on Outer Drive, where it says uneven service, if that's gonna get fixed, or in front of KFC. If anything, if we can get updates on those roads especially. I'm not sure if I have to go to Wayne County to ask her.
If you go to Wayne County's website, they have a list of all the roads that are scheduled to be repaired this summer and fall.
Okay, thank you.
The only thing that I saw in that list, though, from Allen Park was what they're doing at Goddard and Allen, so not a lot in Allen Park.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I think I reported once before, Charles, that Mr. Warrencheck, the county commissioner supervisor, whatever, said that they had that spot in front of the KFC on the list. Now, if Bob says it's not showing, I'll have to call my friend Mr. Warrencheck back and compare notes with him and see if we've if that's fallen off the list or whatever. But I'll check it and I'll let you know, Charles.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I did not see it on the list.
Let's see. Next, I hope everyone goes out and supports the farmers market each Friday in June and throughout the whole summer. I went there the other day and did flowers and learned about it, so it's a good time. And then just an idea. I know we have a five-year budget, but just an idea of where the buses stop. Could we have like more benches? And I know in Lincoln Park, I drove by and they have like these, I don't know what they call, like covers over the benches. If possibly have that so that when it's raining out, people aren't getting soaked. And then lastly, I hope everyone has a fantastic week and keep being positive. Thank you.
I'm sorry, but I'm legally blind. Mr. Mategas, my name's Anthony Bertolino. I live on Robinson, and I would like to change the tone a little bit. I think you have done a beautiful job for the circumstance that you've came in being a mayor. You've did the best job possible, and I think each and every one of you do good things in your own different ways, but I was highly impressed by your new city ordinance officer. What's his name, Mr. Messenger?
Yes.
Bob Messenger. Well, he is such a good guy. I talked to him over the telephone, and he didn't even have to do anything more than just talk, and he solved my problem. So that was a good move on that part. And I know you all have your own fine qualities in your own way, but I do have to say, under the circumstances, Mr. Mategas, you did a very wonderful job. And
I think the whole bunch of you each have your own specialties, and I'd just like to see you all work together. But I did want to let you know about this new, Mr. Messenger is his name, Bob?
Robert Messenger.
Robert Messenger. He is a wonderful gentleman. I know he comes from a good background, and I haven't had a guy like that since Dave Boomer used to do it way back in the day. And Dave did a fine job, and he's been here for as long as I can remember. And Mr. Mizzy, I am very happy to hear your voice, and it's nice to, I wish I could see you, but I don't, but I recognize your voice well. And that's all I had to say. Have a good night.
Good evening, Nancy Simmons. I live on Keppen in Allen Park. I just had a couple of questions. One is about one of the ordinances that you're going to be talking about tonight, the 03-2015. And under the section 48-112, under costs, and it's about specifically the item B where it says the Department of Water and Sewer Maintenance shall charge and collect a fee to perform certain miscellaneous services for users of the sewer system, including but not limited to, and blah, blah, blah. Do I need to keep reading on? Is anybody looking at it? It's just about, and they're giving examples of cleaning, televising, and abandonment of lines or leads, and that the fee associated with such services shall be set by council resolution from time to time. And my question is currently, are there charges for those things now? Because I had heard, that, I don't know if televising is where they scope the drain. Is that what televising means?
Yes.
Yes, and
it
so
is.
I always had heard that there was no charge for that. And so now does it mean that there are going to be charges for these things?
Yes, and, part of this is, it's due to the aging of the infrastructure in the city.
Right.
In fact, most communities do this. In fact, all the communities that our firm represents, we have this. So the idea is that anything from on the homeowner's lead, and it's not necessarily just on the property, it tends to be on the property, but from the property owner's house to connecting into the city, that is the homeowner's responsibility.
Right, but so you're saying that scoping the...
Sometimes you do have to scope in order to find what the...
Right, but in the past, I heard that there was no charge, but now you're going to be charging?
In some instances, it will make sense to charge.
Okay, and so are there current charges for things, and yes or no, whether there is or not, there's going to be? How do we find out what those things are without having to call somebody? Is that going to be something on the website? Because it doesn't have any charges written down on here.
Yeah, a fee schedule will need to be put together.
Okay, all right, that answered my question. I have one other question. We have a house next to us that is abandoned, and it's been purchased by debt collectors, and I guess somebody has purchased it after them at the end of April. And we've had an issue with vandalism, break-ins, grass not being cut. Now, I did talk to Dave Boomer, and he said that he was going to take care of it, but I called the phone number that was on the door, and the debt collector, they said they didn't care what I said. They didn't care if there was grass 2 feet high. They weren't going to do anything. And they told me that I had to write an official formal letter to the debt collector, or not the attorneys or something, and state what my problems were. And they just basically said it really didn't matter if I wrote the letter because they weren't going to do anything. So I said to them, well, I'm calling my city the minute I get off the phone, and I'm going to file a complaint, which I didn't really, but I did, because I called and talked to Dave Boomer. And he said he would take care of it. Well, within an hour, somebody was out there mowing the lawn. I'm assuming that it was not the city, but is there anything, can you just, I'm gonna leave, but if there's some you could explain to us, like what our procedure is for handling this kind of thing, because it's so frustrating. My husband was mowing it, he was shoveling the snow, and then we were told you can't do that because you can be fined for stepping on private property. And so I don't want people to know that a house is abandoned next door, because drug people are gonna come in and are squatters, and I don't want that. So if you could explain to us as citizens what procedure we need to do to take care of that. Thank you.
Where's the house at? Where is it? Well, on what street? I mean, I just,
Well, I said what street I lived on, so
yeah, what,
you could ask Keaton or something. Sorry, I just don't
But just,
advertise it.
if people let us know and file a complaint, we will go out, we will give the property owner a notice. If they do not respond within a reasonable time, we do cut the lawn or do the necessary things, and it does go on their tax bills. We can't do much more than that unless it's a dangerous building, as Mayor Pro Tem Keenan has said before. If we determine something is a dangerous building, then we proceed to go forward with removing the building from the property, and that will end up in circuit court, and that is quite a long proceeding, and generally the owners that live near it are not very happy to have to face that, but that's just the nature of private property and what we have to do before we can rectify somebody else's not taking care of their own building.
Mr. Chairman, if I might just interject, Nancy, one of the things that I think we suffer from is a delay in notification. We as citizens, as homeowners, as neighbors, forget that as soon as it reaches that threshold height or whatever, call the city. Don't let it get 6 inches higher or 12 inches higher. Get on it as soon, even if it's not quite there yet, call anyway. Get the ball rolling. They can put the notice up at least. This is approaching, you know, noxious weed stage or whatever the ordinance says, and then we get a jump on it. Our problem, I think, is I've heard several meetings ago, people were talking about a house that's been kicking around for 8 or 9 years with problems and nobody did anything about it. Or maybe they did, but they didn't do enough. We need to jump on it and stay on it. That's the best thing we can do. So try that. Thanks, Nance.
Evening, everyone. My name is Wayne Smith. I live on Philomene. I know there was supposed to be some road repairs that were starting supposedly today. I don't see that that's happened, but it's my understanding that the road repairs on Philomene were supposed to take place from Shenandoah to Norwood. We live between Norwood and Gahona, and it's an absolute disaster to the point where you don't even have to go to Cedar Point for a bumpy ride. Just go down Philomene. So the question I have is there a reason why you stopped on the road repair at Norwood instead of at least taking it a couple streets east, past Gahona and maybe up to King? It's horrible through there. And I'd like to know if that's going to be repaired on Philomene between Norwood and Gahona.
I think that's the answer.
Well, I don't know whether the limit is going to be there or it will go further, but we'll look into it. But there is an issue as to how much money is in that budget. As you heard earlier, the city administrator did transfer an additional $500,000. So our repair budget for our streets for the 15-16 year should be about double what it was for the 14-15 year. And I don't know if that additional late transfer will change the amount of roads that we will be able to repair. And I just have to look at it. And maybe you can call the office and we can give you a better.
Well, I
sense
actually
of what's
tried
going
that.
on.
I stopped at DPW. I think I was here at City Hall. Somebody told me to go see somebody named Terry at DPW. I went there. I talked to a lady. She took my information. This was probably a week and a half ago. I thought I'd at least get a call. So say somebody could at least explain to me, how could you possibly not get the rest of Philomene completed between Norwood and Gahona? I was just looking for an explanation of why you stopped there. And, yeah, which is, it's horrible. I mean, in the wintertime with the trucks coming through with the snow plows, we've got gravel, pieces of cement on the street. Now, somebody had mentioned to me that maybe the fiscal year was ending in June, and maybe sometime in July they'd have a new budget. And so again, I'm just looking for an explanation as to why you stopped there.
I think the city administrator, but I think I can tell you too, the people that we hired to do the repairs bid a certain amount of work. And they bid it, I think, before the last budget amendment. Am I right?
Well, what happens is when we bid out the road repairs, and we have a very limited amount of money. We have about $550,000 in local streets. This is the money we get for gas tax, and about the same amount in major streets. So that's just over $1 million to repair roads in this whole city. And even with the amount of money I'm transferring, or I'm asking council to consider transferring for next year, that only adds $500,000. So you got a $1.5 million that you're going to be trying to fix 99 miles of roads, and that's just local streets, not major. And it costs almost $1 million a mile to repair roads. So the amount of money we had is limited. So when we bid this, they bid based on a linear foot calculation that's bid that way. And we map out how much money we have and how many feet we can repair. And I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but that's what we have to do road repairs.
Well, I can even tell you that 3 weeks ago, there was a guy that came in a truck with his asphalt, and he was a one-man operation, and he threw down some asphalt, and I'll bet he was there 10 minutes, and he was gone. I don't know if he was just simply overwhelmed at the amount of potholes he had to fill, or he thought he was just going to run out.
Okay.
So again, if you can just make a note that it needs to be repaired, Philomene between Norwood and Gahona.
I will follow up with Mr. Kerr, and if you gave him your name and address, you'll have it. I'll make sure he follows up with you.
Great, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Smith, I just want to address, I live on Cortland, on the other side of south of E-Course. So I've been down Philomene a lot. I do not go down that street anymore if I can avoid it, because it is terrible. And it needs to be fixed, and there's no doubt about that. But there are lots of, if you go down Shenandoah off of E-Course, that street's a disaster. You know, we have so many streets like that. So, and I think what Mr. Cady was trying to say is that what are the priorities when these streets are so bad? We have so many that are so bad, and we have a limited amount of money. So you're absolutely 100% correct. No doubt about it. I've been down that street, and it is terrible. I want my car to last, so I am not going down that street.
You know what, I'll say one other thing. I'll do the labor on it. You throw down some asphalt, and I'll put it down for you.
Please.
But I understand.
All right, thank you.
We will get what's called a PACER report within about 3 weeks. PACER report is to evaluate all of our streets from worst to best. And as the city administrator said, there's 99 miles of what I'll call the residential streets, and then 20 miles of major streets. And basically the difference in Allen Park for a major street is one that actually is connecting to another community. It's a through street. I don't even know if Philomene qualifies as a major street because it doesn't go through. But that report will go up, and we will put it up on the website, and you can see that. And I don't know what amendments will be made or additions can be added to the contracts that were already let, but because we do have additional money going into next year's budget. But that we'll just have to see what we can do.
Mr. Chairman, one last thought. The question I think I heard you ask, but I didn't hear answered, was why did they stop there? I presume that the basic reason, well, we hire an engineering firm that does this PACER type of evaluation. When they did the first one, based on the letting of these current contracts, presumably they found that those sections this side of Kahona and the other street were more serious than those. Now, they may have degraded subsequent to the evaluation, but they did an evaluation and they identified what they perceived to be the highest priority sections. So that's the answer, the short answer to your question.
Walter Danik, Bel Air Avenue, citizen of Allen Park. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Wojcinski had asked a question in regards to this building, and you said that Time Equity was interested. Are you at liberty to tell us what Time Equity is willing to offer for this building?
They offered a number to Miss Parker, so you know how long ago the offer was made then, of $1.8 million for the whole 11 acres.
That includes the
police
pound,
the impound, the repair building, and the salt dome, as well as the 7 3/4 acres here. There's about 4 acres behind the that branch of the north branch of the Ecorse Creek that runs through the property. And
okay, back a couple of years ago, Mr. Boomer was talking about a guy that was going to go over here at the end of Enterprise Drive. He was going to buy some property and build a manufacturing plant or something. Did that ever transpire?
no,
No.
he's leasing property from Time Equities on the second floor right at the front of the building.
Okay. So he's done with over there?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the offer from Time Equity, you said, was back when Ms. Parker was here. Are we doing anything to see if that offer is still available?
We periodically ask him if it's still on the table. Yes, he's not withdrawn it. He is still interested.
To the same tune of 1.8?
Right.
Okay. That's like double what Boji was giving us?
Mr. Boji was only going to take the front 4 acres for $1.3 million.
Okay.
And then he turned around when he offered on the 11 acres. I think he offered, and someone can correct me, but I thought it was $1.6 million. But he was offering much less for the back property.
Okay. How's the preparation going for the move?
Let me address that. We are moving a week from this Friday. It'll be over probably 3 or 4 days. We'll be closed, obviously, on Friday when they start moving, because we are closed on Fridays. We'll also probably be required to be closed that Monday as they set everything up over there. The phone transfers have already been set up. The computer cutoffs are already set up. I believe we'll be open for the public that Tuesday, June, was it 7th or 8th? I don't have a calendar in front of me, but 9th. So everything's going very good on that front.
Okay, cool.
The only thing that won't be completed will be the council chamber. So as I said in my report, we'll probably be meeting here for at least another month for our meetings.
Okay. Let's hope we don't get more rain.
This is the driest room in the building. What are you talking
I
about?
understand. Mr. Gross was kind enough to take me through the police station. I didn't realize. Through the chair, I would like to ask a council member a question. Mr. Hayes, you got my message on Facebook. Did you go by the library?
I'll tell you, honestly, I don't think I got your message on Facebook, honestly.
You
What did you
responded
say?
to me.
Oh, I
You
did?
said, will do. I will drive by.
Is this about the parking lot or something?
No, it's about the grass.
Oh, yes, okay, I'm sorry. I haven't done anything with that, Walter, and I apologize. I'll get right on it.
Okay, thank you.
See no one else coming forward, we'll go to the consent agenda. And I'll ask the council, as I have in the past, does anybody want, under purchasing actions, either claims and accounts or payroll report removed for separate consideration? I'm assuming that the canvassing permits door-to-door are okay, so I'll take a consent agenda for both A and B.
Motion.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Keenan, supported by Councilman Cisco. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you very much. Just for the information, there were 2 licenses and permits. Detroit Public Television wants to do a door-to-door seeking membership for public television, and then there's a solicitor's permit, Beauty by V. Virginia Frisch, Avon Products, so, and they will pay their permit fees. Resolution to approve the budget. I'd like to put it on the agenda by motion and then have the city administrator take us through it.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Templin. Do I have a second? Supported by Councilman Cisco. Mr. Cady?
Thank you, Mayor. Attached for your review in this agenda is the modifications I've proposed for the 15 and 16 budget that was originally imposed on the city by Ms. Parker. This budget includes corrections that were not anticipated or included in the imposed version. What you see highlighted in red are those proposed changes, and next to those on the right would be the explanations. The budget is balanced and complete for all the funds. Some of the changes that are in here include adjustment for a decrease in taxable value. We had a slight decrease. I'd actually call it flat. It went down about $3.8 million in taxable value. Restore the mayor and council's pay per Ms. Parker's order. That was not in that budget. And as we discussed earlier, there's a $500,000 transfer to help with the road repairs. This is about a 33% increase from what we have currently. There's also corrections so that we can show the payment for the 2010 GO bonds that will come to the general fund once the refinance is complete. I must also add that once it's complete, we'll also have to transfer the new debt to the general fund, which will be another budget amendment. However, I've already put that money in there. There's just it's just not correctly allocated. There's also money allocated in this budget to do the pictometry and sketch updates for our assessing department, which were not part of the new BSNA software. There's also an adjustment in payment for the new contract assessor that council approved at the last meeting. There's also a setup for IT professional or contractor so we can pay for people to fix our problems in the future so our software doesn't get so out of alignment. Budget adjustments also include the animal control agreement that we have with the Southgate and Wyandotte that weren't in the budget. Increases in software and maintenance for new systems for the police department. Adjustments to overtime reflect such items if they come, such as storms and snow events, which aren't in there now. And it also incorporates all the capital requests that were approved as part of the 6-year capital plan. Actually, I should note the 6-year capital plan is still under review by the RTAB. I stand corrected. And I've also adjusted this budget to show a $500,000 to start beginning our GASB 45 liability that we currently do not fund at all. As far as the water and sewer department, I've included the payment for the $134,400 that was a judgment against us last year for basement flooding, and there are adjustments for the correct amount to the debt payments. It's important to note that the imposed budget that was put in place by Ms. Parker does not comply with PA 2 of 68 or PA 493 of 2000, which states that the purpose of the Budget Act is to require that all local units of government in Michigan adopt balanced budgets to establish responsibilities and define the procedure for the preparation, adoption, and maintenance of the budget, and to require certain information for the budget process. The budget before you is a balanced budget. I would ask for your approval.
Any questions?
Yes.
Councilman Hayes?
Support first, right?
Did we not?
Yep. I'm sorry, you're right, Mayor Pro
Motion.
Tem.
Supported.
There was a motion by
It-
Templin and
It's
supported.
before us, there's a motion by
Oh,
Templin and
okay.
supported by Cisco, so either you gentlemen wish to speak first on it? Anyone else wish to speak for the budget? Mayor Pro Tem Keenan, was that,
No,
I had a question.
okay? Councilman Hayes.
Now, Mr. Cady, we spoke about the GASB 45, which is the funding, as I understand it, for the post-retirement health care, correct?
Yes, sir.
And for the last 2 or 3, however many fiscal years, we have not funded that.
Correct.
So notwithstanding the fact that we have a substantial obligation or liability, whatever you want to term it, we have not been funding as we went along because we didn't have enough money or whatever. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I think I read, if I'm not mistaken, on your materials, that although we are going to start with this $500,000, $500,000 payment, actually, we probably should be putting more like $950,000 aside. Isn't that right?
Yes, there's an updated GASB 45 report that we just commissioned, and it'll have a recommended amount every year, and that amount will be updated. But you're right, it's $500,000 isn't near enough, and I doubt if $900,000 is enough.
Because in point of fact, we owe about $90 million, as I understand it. Or there's a $90 million obligation out there. Is that correct?
It's pretty close to that.
So I just want the citizens to understand when people talk about liabilities, obligations, whatever you want to choose to call it, we have an obligation to pay these things because we negotiated with our employees. We entered into contracts. How wise they were is debatable, I suppose, but we've created this huge expense that we're not even approaching paying for. So I don't want this to be we're against people getting retirement benefits or anything like that. We just need you to be aware that this is a serious, serious problem that's not going to go away. And if you follow the national news, you know that Chicago is faced with a problem like this. They're a much bigger place. They have like a terrible pension and post-retirement health problem, and they're probably going to be the next city to go bankrupt, frankly, and that'll set the dominoes falling around the country. The other question I had, Mr. Cady, if I may, as to Mr. Diebold's comments, as near as we can project at this time, we will have a balanced budget. At the end of this period, we'll be at a zero out. Our expenditures and our revenues will have netted zero, basically, correct?
If you look at the contingency that I've put into the 15-16 budget, it's 101-221-999, I believe. It shows about a $980,000 contingency, which would be what fund balance would go up, assuming we hit this budget next year.
Okay, so that's the old swag factor?
That is the plug, yes.
Okay, and I won't define that for you, for the virgin ears out there, but there's a scientific term I'm referring to. But we have about a $5 million surplus fund balance, roughly, somewhere around there, and that money is to be spent on paying down liabilities, buying buildings, hiring police officers?
We're dealing, and I think Mr. Diebold was correct when he said that, you know, Ms. Parker was stating in the beginning, and I wasn't here then, but I understand that a 10% number was thrown around for fund balance. Yet the order that she put in place for the city to maintain, as far as a fund balance, states that it'll be 15% plus a 1.2 reserve on debt service. When you add in the debt for the new building and everything we'll be taking on, that will equate roughly to about a 30% fund balance. Our own auditors will tell us that 20% is more than adequate for most cities. Now, this isn't a normal city in the fact we haven't put a lot of money into capital over the last few years. So what that number will be when we end up and everything's said and done, I'm not sure. But I'm sure that once Order 35 or 37 is gone, that excess fund balance could definitely be used to help fix some of the issues we have in this city. But until then, we are required to carry that fund balance.
Now, I know that when Mrs. Parker was here, she had kind of a public hearing, I suppose, on the budget. But I wonder if you would agree that an informational review of these things, I think it's important myself that the public see this. I don't know if this is an appropriate topic, but it seems to me a public hearing in more detail. I mean, that document, I couldn't read, I wasn't going to print the whole thing because, first of all, I don't know if I have the right paper or whatever, but some of the stuff I couldn't read, you know, because of the format, you know, that Excel or whatever it is. And so, but it would be helpful, I think, if people could see this and understand it more fully, because I think we hear $5 million, that's a lot of money, what are we going to do with it? Some people want to hear a rebate or, you know, refund of their taxes. Other people want to see us spend it on police officers, as you heard Mr. Wojcinski say. Other people would like to see us build a building. I'd like to see us pay down some of our obligations, maybe. So there's any number of options, but unless we have all the information, I'm sure nobody quite knows what the best approach is. So I wonder if you'd entertain the thought of a kind of a more regular budget discussion as we go forward, maybe at the end of the year when you're wrapping things up.
Yeah, and we'll also, when the auditors finish the audit, they give a comprehensive overview of the year. But I'd be more than happy to sit down with any resident that wants to come in and talk to me about the budget or what we're doing. I mean, just call and set an appointment, and I'm available. I've made that part of my creed since I took over, was I'll talk to anybody, anytime, so.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cady. Nice report.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Cisco.
Yes, Mr. Cady, as far as the GASB 45 liability, Allen Park is not alone in that situation, is it?
No, Councilman. Very few cities are able to fund this liability. And I think I might have mentioned at a meeting.
You did.
That unless you have a AAA bond rating like Oakland County, you can't even bond for this liability. State won't allow it. So most cities are probably somewhere between 5 to 12% funded, I would guess is a good number, although it varies by community. We're one of the few, though, that have set aside zero.
And that was started some time ago, right?
Oh, yeah, this goes back longer than a few years.
Thank you.
Any other questions by council? I have one when we talk about the health care, because we're presently in litigation with our retirees over the health care. So at this moment, it's kind of one additional factor to say what our liability is, since we're in litigation over the very fact of what we think we owe them and have to pay them. Is that correct?
Yes, I'd calculated for Ms. Folks back in, I think it was March, that there was about $38 million, Mark, was the liability out there, that if we were to come up on the negative side of that lawsuit, that would go back into our GASB 45 liability. Yeah, 23, 24 million? Okay.
And that litigation is a substantial amount of money, potentially to the city over its future. If I have no other questions, then I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
That's carried. Thank you. Other business, we have the City of Allen Park Strategic Plan. Administrator, have you want a motion on? I don't know what the motion would be at this point, so I don't know how you want to handle it.
Receive and place on file?
This was a late agenda item that was asked for by Councilman.
I'm happy to talk to Mr. Mayor if you'd like.
Well, I just want to see if we're talking or is. Yes, it is. It is rain. I'm just looking at our ceiling.
Wait for it.
Do we want to just have a discussion about the description?
I don't think an action is necessary. We already approved it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just printed it for reference as Councilman Hayes had asked for this to be in June.
so that people were familiar with it.
It's just the way the agenda's set up, I have no other place to kind of put the.
Okay, well then, we'll just start, if I can, with the city administrator giving us an update as to where we stand on the,
Well, before we do that, Mayor, if I could just ask a question, because I think some of this transpired before Mr. Cady was here. So I was led to believe that the strategic committee, or the visioning committee, as we called it, sunsetted with Ms. Parker's exit from the city. Now, certainly, they did a great deal of work for us. I know that a lot of us were involved in it, and we did vote to take their plan under consideration. But with the group sunsetting back in September, and again, this document is dated July. I'm not really sure that the item that was asked about on page 4, them coming in to give individual updates. I don't know that I understood that as part of the plan. So
it's not my understanding either. I had thought the council, when we received and approved this, that we had asked Ms. Folks to go to the various commissions, and I thought there was an allocation of what parts were to go to what commissions to see if they could be incorporated into their future plans and that. And in fact, one of the ordinances we have tonight, I think, is an outgrowth of that, which is with the Festivities Commission.
well, I don't want to, certainly, you know, I'm very thankful for the hard work that the commission put in place for us. But again, when we voted on this, we did not know a date of when Ms. Parker was going to sunset out, you know, what the plan was. Certainly, I think that we can use this, and there's some great ideas in here that we can use to help us move forward and understand what the citizens want. But I'll be perfectly honest with you. I have a little bit of a problem with this, in the sense that, you know, some of the people, and I won't mention any names, but some of the people that are now wanting to bring this back forward were the very people that questioned whether this small group, to use their terms, represented the city of Allen Park, and thought that this group, as I recall the discussion, and I see that we have some members from that commission here, but I remembered it being that they didn't believe that the small number of people were representative of the community, and therefore it shouldn't really even be paid attention to. But now, all of a sudden, it's being brought back up, and I would contend for political reasons, but that's just my thought. But, you know, with this, I mean, I would like to, I think we need to discuss whether, do we agree that the thing sunsetted on Ms. Parker's transition out of the city? And if so, then we just take the document under advisement and use it as a template to understand what the community, as some people saw fit, wanted to move forward, and that's the end of it. I don't know that we need to have a whole heck of a lot of discussion on it, to be frank with you.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I may, and
Councilman
I'm
Hayes.
happy to identify myself as one of the people that Mr. Keenan refers to, because I was skeptical about the thing. But when I realized that as a fiduciary, as someone just reminded us here, I think Mr. McGusson, when we spent nearly $8,000 in this process, it makes me think that we ought to follow through with it. And with all respect to my friend Mr. Keenan, it says very plainly on page 4 that once we resolve to follow this plan, whether I like it or not is really beside the point, quite beside the point. We resolved that the council and the mayor would drive this process, drive the strategic process, empower the commissions, secure buy-in from the lead organizations, establish a regular city council agenda item, assist in removing roadblocks and obstacles to reaching goals, empower lead organizations. I don't know what could be more clear. The fact that the overall commission sunsetted is quite independent from our ongoing role to ensure that we didn't just throw away $8,000. Now, we've got some good ideas in here, and I'll mention one. Under the excellence in government, they talk about making sure that the city's master plan is updated and made functional. Do you know that the last master plan we had was in 2001? We didn't do one in 2006. We didn't do one in 2011. They're 5-year plans. We don't have one currently. Without a master plan, you are unable to secure certain grant monies. I hear citizens ask me every day, can't we get grants to do that? Well, evidently not without a master plan. Mr. Hubler has talked about this, former Mayor Hubler, routinely. Others have spoken about this. Now, whether this was the best way to get us to look at the master plan, I don't know. I can be in the minority position about the overall process without realizing that I have a duty to do what we paid to have done. And so I guess, with all due respect to my friend Mr. Keene, I think he's misinformed as to the importance of the general commission with the rest of the designated areas. Now, the second question becomes, arts, culture, and community life, nobody's even been determined to lead that. So I don't know, we'll have to find out and appoint somebody. Mr. Toronto, as I reported last time, doesn't seem interested in pursuing. Doug Pretty, Bob Turner, I don't know if they're interested in pursuing it. Karen Folks isn't here. Hubler's still here, and I mentioned that he's still doing some of this stuff. And Folks is in charge of public safety too. So my question is, are we gonna live up to our obligation, something that we wrote a resolution that we would do, or are we just gonna let it blow off and forget about it and just say, well, that's another $8,000 we chucked out the window? Well, that's my point.
Mayor, if I could, just two things I'd like to address that he attributed to me. First of all,
Mayor Pro Tem.
if you could just be clear, because I think you're mistaking, the master plan you're talking about revolves around Parks and Recreation. And that's what Dick Hubler's talking about. It's not a city master plan. It's a Parks and Recreation master plan.
Well, not entirely, but go ahead.
And anything that you would be talking about as far as money coming in by grants would be revolving around Parks and Recreation, not the city of Allen Park. And again, I would just say again that when this was a commission that Ms. Parker, and I would also be careful using the fact that we spent $8,000, Ms. Parker spent $8,000, we had no say in the matter. But again, I think we got a lot of benefit for it, and I think the commission, I don't want to be mistaken at all for thinking that I'm saying the commission wasn't an excellent idea. But we didn't spend the $8,000, she did, and when she left and it sunsetted, and she made it very clear here that it sunsetted, at that point we had no more responsibility to do anything moving forward. And quite frankly, I would like somebody, I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not going to misspeak, but Mr. Mizzi, if possible, you could pull the ordinance or the motion that we made at that meeting where we took this under advisement. I'd like to know exactly what that stated, because I don't recall it as Mr. Hayes has laid it out.
Okay, we have the two positions by Councilman Hayes and Mayor Pro Tem Keenan. We're here, there's some discussion. Why don't we have the city administrator say those items which have been carried out? Because I think there are a very substantial number have already been carried out, whether it was directly because of the vision or simply because of the necessity of operating the city. But if you would, Mr. Cady.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I don't know if we need a visioning to do these things. These are things that any administrator would take it under it.
Mayor, may I please be recognized? I was a member of the advisory committee, and
No,
I just
not,
want to set something straight.
please, not at this point. The public comments were there, and
I understand, but we didn't know that this was going to come up, and I feel compelled to clarify regarding the $8,000. That was not an expense to the city. The city, it did not come out of any city budget. It came from donations and contributions from advisory.
all right, you stated your position. You got it in, okay? Mr. Cady.
Thank you. Some of the items on this list are, I believe we've tackled, or we're in the process of tackling. Goal number one was to replace the current city hall with a new facility which will facilitate the efficient delivery of services. As you know, we're moving next week into a temporary city hall. Hopefully talks will happen after that for looking at a more permanent site. establish a robust website to facilitate communication, information, sharing, and web-based services delivery. We have a brand-new website. I hope everybody's pleased with it. I haven't heard that anybody's not. One of the things we're looking into, and we haven't done yet, is to explore the application for social media. I know there are many Facebook sites out there, for example, right now, that deal with Allen Park. Myself and Mr. Kibbe have been talking about doing something that we can update the residents on Facebook, and we will continue to look at that. Develop an asset map of the community to provide comprehensive information of community assets and guiding future planning. This goes in with a couple other goals here, but I can tell you right now that on the meeting of June 9th, what we have coming forward is a program called See, Click, Fix, which we're asking the council to consider purchasing. It's an empowering tool, really. It will allow residents to download an application to their cell phone. If they see an issue in the city, it will enable them to report it to us, even take a picture of it and report it to us. Not only will it do that, but it's a drop-down menu that will go to the right person so that everybody can follow the progress. It'll also show up on a map of the city, which you can get from the city website or from your cell phone, and you can actually see the process and what's going on with that problem, and it changes colors as we correct the problem. This is one of the tools that we think is important for moving the city forward, and you'll be seeing that at a June 9th council meeting for consideration and purchase. There's a lot of other things on here, but I'd like to say that, you know, like for example, Goal 13, secure CDBG funds for handicap access. I know Mr. Kibbe has made that a priority since he's come on board. And I won't go over all these because there's a lot of them here, but I can tell you that in the few months since I've been city administrator, and even before I took over, that a lot of these goals have been addressed. And I believe that any city manager that takes over after me will continue to move on these items because they're common sense. They're things we need to do if we want to make Allen Park better. I won't go further on them.
Okay. I would just say for the council and for the public that Mr. Kibbe has sent a letter to all commissions because some commissions were approached by Ms. Folks. She was supposed to approach all 16 commissions and see where items I think that had been thought to best fall with those commissions, whether they were already in their plan or could be made part of their plan or why they wouldn't be part of their plan. I know she did get to Parks and Recreation, and I know she did get to the Festivities Commission. I've heard of none others, but I know Mr. Kibbe is writing all the commissions to try and determine that. And this is not an easy matter for us because one of the things Ms. Parker did was completely do away with certain commissions, but she also failed to keep all commissions staffed. So we're trying to go through that process too to make certain that we've staffed the commissions that we have and that they're able to do their jobs and carry out the mission statement provided to them. So, do we have any other discussions on the matter?
Just one other thing, Mr. Mayor. Mrs. McLeod mentioned that there hadn't been any city money. She may be correct. I know that we paid money because Mr. Cady provided me the data that went through our account. Now, maybe they deposited and it just got spent through our account, but it clearly came out of the city checking account. The payment to Mr. Stack, for example, and I presume that the food purchases from the vendor and e-course probably may have been funded by individuals. I don't know that, but the checks, I think, came through our checking account in the city. So how it got there, Gail, I don't know, but I just clarify that. Thanks.
Any other discussion by council? I'll ask that we move to the first and second reading of proposed ordinance 02-2015 to amend Chapter 2, Article 5, the Festivities Commission. If council would read the proposed ordinance.
Now, do we normally have a motion for me to read first? Yeah, motion and second to read?
I would do a motion and a support, please.
Okay. I'll take
So
a
move.
Moved by Councilman DeGiulio. Do I have a support?
Hayes, I think.
What?
That was Hayes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Seconded.
Hayes, Templin.
No, Templin, Larry seconded.
Okay, seconded by Councilman Templin. All right.
Okay. Proposed ordinance number 02-215. An ordinance of the City of Ellen Park Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 2, Administrations, Article 5, Boards, Commissions, Committees, and Authorities, Division 9, Festivities Commission, by the repeal and readoption of Section 2-510 through 2-516 to provide clarity. I'll also do the second reading. Proposed ordinance 02-2015, an ordinance of the City of Ellen Park Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Boards, Commissions, Committees, and Authorities, Division 9, Festivities Commission, by the repeal and readoption of Section 2-510 through 2-516 to provide clarity.
Thank you. Do I have any questions by council?
Mayor, comment if I could. Just since
Mayor Pro Tem?
for those of you that don't know, on the Legal Affairs Committee, Ms. Gavarecki is the chair, and Mr. Hayes and myself are both on there. So since Ms. Gavarecki is not here, I just wanted to let the citizens know that there was some changes proposed to the committee, and Ms. Gavarecki worked really hard with the Festivities Committee, brought those changes to them. They redlined them, came back and forth 2 or 3 times, and what we have before us tonight was what was settled on after everybody had their input. So I just want you to know that we did seek input from the Festivities Committee. We did go back and forth with them, and what you have before you is what everybody kind of the consensus that everybody came up with.
Any other comments or questions by council? I hear none. I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. First and second reading of proposed ordinance 03215 to amend Chapter Utilities, Article 3, requiring connection, maintenance, and requirement and costs. Do I have a motion on that, please?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cisco, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Keenan. The attorney read this ordinance, please.
Proposed ordinance 03-2015, an ordinance of the City of Ellen Park Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 48, Utilities, Article 3, Sewers, Division 1, generally by amendment of Sections 48-110-48-113, required connection, maintenance, requirements, and cost. I'll also do the second reading. Proposed ordinance number 03-2015, an ordinance of the City of Ellen Park Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 48, Utilities, Article 3, Sewers, Division 1, generally by amendment of Section 48-110 through 48-113, required connection, maintenance requirements, and cost.
Do I have comments by any of the council?
The one question that arose was, I think Mrs. Simmons asked, we talk about costs, this is the one, but we don't have any costs listed, do we? No, the council will have to, in fact, we'll probably have to talk to our engineer, and we're gonna have to come up with some proposed costs and then have council adopt those. Will we have to adopt that separately then? Yes. Okay. And then it would be periodically updated. Okay, thank you.
Well, is that, excuse me, is that this ordinance or the next ordinance?
There's
Here.
two dealing with water and
Yeah.
sewer.
Yeah, that's correct, as the clerk pointed out. There are 2 dealing with water and sewer. So this would be ordinance number 03 that we're
Councilman Hayes is
discussing right now.
though. That was the one the question was on, 03.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Oh,
Yeah.
I believe in
The numbers are confusing in that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So right here,
Well, my numbers are wrong. That's what got me.
here we go, right here.
Yep. No, I understand now that I'm in the,
Okay.
on the right motion.
Yeah, it's Deb's fault.
We won't go there. All right. If there are no other questions by council, ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. To the clerk on the final item, there's the final reading. Can I open it to a public hearing and then come
That's-
back to a motion to the council?
I think you could do it either way as long as you do have the public hearing. I don't know if the attorney wants a motion in support. But it's key that we get a roll call at the end.
Right. The preference of council?
Well, maybe, since it is a public hearing, if I could, maybe I should, at least I can read the title so the public will know what we are acting on. This proposed ordinance O-01-215 is an ordinance of City of Allen Park Code of Ordinances, which amends Chapter 48, which addresses wastewater discharges control by the repeal and readoption of certain sections of the ordinance. This ordinance is designed to provide penalties when a person improperly dumps wastewater into the city's city sewers. Not only is this, obviously, it's important for the functioning of our sewer system, but there's also a requirement that we have with the wastewater treatment plant. They want to minimize unlawful substances coming into their treatment plant. So this is a public hearing if anyone has any comments with respect to this ordinance.
So I'll open it to the public. Would anyone like to come forward and comment on this ordinance? I see no one coming forward. Oh. Mr. Turner.
Robert Turner, a question on the waste disposal. Now, it refers to the sewers. How about dumping into a stream like East Court Creek or something? Is there, pardon me?
That's storm, that's not sewer.
Okay, they're different. Okay, thank you.
Ray McGusson, can you clear where you're talking about? Is this dumping stuff into our street sewers?
I would say any sewer.
I'm,
You may have a sewer, I know there's some areas where there's sewers in alleyways and yards. I mean, any sewer that would go into the stormwater to go to the wastewater treatment.
I just want to get this clear. What are we talking about here? We talking about anyone who dumps any kind of chemicals into our sewers, or when? And the reason why I'm asking is because we have a lot of contractors that when they get done doing a lot of their work, they clean all their stuff up right into our streets.
Well, that could violate this ordinance.
So that's what I'm asking,
This
okay?
is, you know, this be any substance into our wastewater system which will interfere with the operation of the system or contaminate the resulting sludge or will pose a hazard to the health or safety of the people. This is quite broad.
So I'm going to ask us a real simple question. A contractor comes in and goes ahead and does concrete work on my street, on any of our properties. And he turns around and he washes his concrete that's left in his wheelbarrows and also in the chute that comes out of that concrete, out of concrete trucks. And guess where they put it all the time?
Yeah, I'm not sure if
if you're
diluted concrete would be included. See, what this ordinance does is
this incorporates the Federal Clean Water Pollution Control Act, and I don't have the complete definition of what all the contaminants are.
Okay, so as a concerned citizen at this open meeting, I'm asking a question right now. I'd like the city council and our city attorney and our mayor to please look into this and find out if that is going to be an illegal dumping into our sewer system.
I can do that. I will do that. And quite frankly, anytime you see someone making a, questionable dumping, you can always report that, and that can be weighed up against this.
Well, if we have this ordinance here, and an ordinance is a law,
Right.
and this is a direct violation then of this ordinance or to our Clean Water Act, then maybe this is something that can be addressed and be actually, brought up and addressed. And then to our concrete individuals, they can be told, you're not going to be allowed to do that.
Yeah. Now, we have a contract with the City of Detroit Water and Sewage Department, and this ordinance is mirrored towards their requirements. Does that make sense?
Let me give this, Ray, this ordinance, why we seem a little bit, I won't say ignorant, but the thing is, we were given this by the city of Detroit and said you have to adopt this.
Oh.
And so it's not, we do have, I believe we have other ordinances dealing with things going into our sewer, and it might be somewhere else in here also. So it is a good question, but this one's basically the city of Detroit telling us, pass this ordinance. We don't want anything in here that's not supposed to be here.
So I understand it, and thank you, Mike, okay, because that's why I'm very concerned now, because charges can be brought up against us if we know that our concrete individuals are cleaning their equipment or anyone else, because that's the only ones that's the ones I see all the time dumping it in there.
I suspect it's not going to be a problem. Well, the attorney said he'll check into it.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.
No, I really am puzzled by the ordinance. The only sewer that we have running that contracts to the city of Detroit is the new one we just opened a year ago, May.
I'm not exactly sure. I thought we had others, because this actually came, I won't mince words, this came in like 2008 originally, but our previous city attorney ignored every single one I sent to him. It was by luck that these attorneys, we got like a 13th notice, and I sent it to these attorneys, and they said, wow, we got to get this passed. So this goes back to 2008, and we literally, that's the previous city attorney then, just ignored every single request. So we're dealing, this goes back, I don't even know if it goes back to 2008, and we never did anything about it until the new law firm came in, so. Which, by the way, thank you, Joe.
Oh, you're welcome. Our pleasure. And, Mayor, it is, I don't know what all the systems are in Detroit, in the city and where they flow to, but, oftentimes it's difficult to distinguish, what goes where. A lot of times you share systems.
Well, the north branch of the Ecorse Creek, the south branch of the Ecorse Creek, now beautifully called the Sexton Kilfoyle Drain. The only two drains, other than the new one that we just built, and I thought that was a county, because I thought, as far as Detroit was concerned, the only thing that we dealt with from them is their water. All our water and all our sewage goes to the Council Bluffs treatment plant. I think according to Hinshaw, who's our technical advisor for Allen Park and the 12 other communities that are on the downriver wastewater system. So I don't know what goes to Detroit that they would send us something that says, we've got to have this, we're going to have water. And the other thing is, Detroit is just now, the only thing that Detroit does on that system is it is the managing director for Wayne County, Oakland County, and Macomb County. Am I right? Those people, when the city of Detroit went through its bankruptcy, became the owner of the system. And we're going to pay them $50 million to buy that system over the next however many years that's being paid. The city of Detroit system is being bought by 3 entities. And so the 3 counties are paying $50 million, but all of that will be charged to the communities that are using Detroit's water system, which Allen Park is one of.
Mayor, all I can tell you is that, as Mike said, he provided this to the law firm. Mike Hurley brought it to Legal Affairs. He had done some work on it. He had reached out to the county for some clarification, and it was Mike's recommendation that what we have before us, he had vetted out, and that he was.
Well, I'm fine with that, Mayor Pro Tem Keenan, because Mike Hurley is is our attorney specifically for DUA, for the county sewage treatment. Yeah. So, for somehow this must refer to the county and not just Detroit.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
So, any other comments? I need a roll call vote on this.
We need a motion and support.
Oh,
Motion there,
I'm sorry.
Mayor. Do we want to close the public hearing before we vote on it?
I think we did. I closed the public hearing and went to this, but I didn't take a motion.
And you don't vote on, motion to close and,
I'll state in the minutes that a public hearing was held.
okay.
Motion by Councilman DiGiulio. Do I have a support?
I'll second it.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Keenan. I'm sorry, I thought I did get a motion there. It's my fault. Well, if Mr. Hurley, who is a member of the Pendiac Corvier firm, but he is the attorney that represents Allen Park at in the waste treatment plant matters. So that this must have a broader reach than just the city of Detroit's water system, Mr. Clerk.
But that is what triggered this.
Okay. Because, just so you know, the county wants us to buy that sewage system, pay $65 million. Not Allen Park, but the 13 or 14 communities that are on it. We're still paying $99 million toward the bonds that built the system, which was the result of litigation in the federal courts with the EPA. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Okay, after public comment was heard, there is an ordinance of the City of Allen Park Code of Ordinances amending Chapter 48 Utilities, Article 5, wastewater discharge control by repeal and readoption of Section 48-652 and 48-653 regarding the discharge of wastewater into the wastewater collection and treatment system, which are binding upon the city. Shall this ordinance pass? We'll start with Councilman DiGiulio.
Yes.
Councilman Hayes.
Yes.
Pro Tem Keenan.
Yes.
Mayor Mategas.
Yes.
Councilman Cisco.
Yes.
And Councilman Templin.
Yes.
The yeses have it. This ordinance shall be published in a manner and is declared ordained as an ordinance. It should be referred to as 01-2015.
There is no closed session tonight, but one section that's not on here is other comments, which are generally times reserved for council, and if without objection, I'd like to add that, please. Councilman DiGiulio, you'd like to speak first, certainly.
I would. I'd like to thank Jenny Kalish for the wonderful representation at the Memorial Day Parade. She was out there talking to participants. She was walking the whole parade route, taking pictures. And she made what Memorial Day is supposed to be about, our men and women in the armed services and our men and women that gave the ultimate sacrifice, such as Councilman Hayes' brother. So I just want to say thank you, Jenny. You did a great job at the parade there, and you wrote what it's all about. Last year it was all about, not about the Memorial Day. Also, I'd probably like to see the vehicles that throw candy out. I noticed the young children are running into the street. There was a vehicle ahead of us as I was driving, Ernie Halowinski, and the children were running out into the street there to get a piece of candy, and I think it's really dangerous. And it was to see the Honorable Debbie Dingell, who was here for the first time as a Congresswoman, and the Honorable Frank Liberati, our state rep, was there too, so it was a nice turnout. All right, one more thing I gotta say tonight. I have a nephew, Rocco DiGiulio. He's ill from cancer and he's going to surgery tomorrow and will be in hospice care. He's 50 years old. He enjoys watching every council meeting. He can probably tell you every word that people speak. And he would appreciate your thoughts and prayers for him as he goes into surgery tomorrow. And I want to say something to resident, an Allen Park resident, Pastor Ron Helms of the Southgate Free Will Baptist Church, for being with Rocco during this journey that's coming to an end. God bless and good night.
Any other comments by council?
I'll just say a word, Your Honor.
Councilman Hayes?
I sometimes wonder, and I heard one of my colleagues mention that, well, this has been going on for years, or that was under the other administration or whatever, and, you know, that wasn't really us that spent the money, it was somebody else. These kinds of things are really kind of beside the point in my view. It's the taxpayers' money, whoever did it, whenever they did it. We're all in this together. If we really believe in that, then it shouldn't matter about whether it was for years. And if other communities are doing the same thing, it doesn't change the fact that it's a problem. We may not be as bad a shape as some other city, but we still have a problem. And to try to compare and contrast our problems with others is really quite beside the point, I think. We need to recognize when we have a problem, we got to figure out what we're going to do about it, not just say, well, so does everybody else, or that's not really our money, or it was really not that expensive, or whatever. And I go back to the visioning thing. I mean, we spent all this energy. You asked citizens to come out and volunteer. Whether I thought it was a good idea or not, we did it. And now to just drop it, as I heard proposed tonight, basically. I mean, yeah, we're going to pursue it. But I read that to give us marching orders. And if others didn't read it that way, so be it. I can't do anything about it. But it seems to me that when you invest that much time and energy and you make the advertisement that this is going to move the city forward, and one of the items listed in there was to get the master plan done that hasn't been done in 15 years or something like that, still not done. You heard people talk about one of the topics was ADA compliance. Well, one of the things that the master plan called for in 2001 was to have ADA compliance at the park over there behind Sears. I think it's Church Teller Park or whatever it is. They were going to have that done before 2006. Never happened. So we say a lot of things, we write a lot of stuff, and then it gets shelved somewhere, and then you wonder why people are cynical. I just say, if you're going to write it, let's either do it or admit we're not going to do it. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Mayor, just one thing that just came to mind. And I too want to say that I thought the Memorial Day Parade was excellent. I know that it could always be bigger and better, but, you know, with cities, as Charles said, you know, I mean, it's nice that we have these events. One thing I did want to point out, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but, you know, Don Iden has been involved in this community for years and years and years. I mean, that guy has been on so many different commissions and involved in the parades and everything. I was shocked when I saw him at the parade. I did not know that he had been ill. I knew I hadn't seen him lately, but I mean, he's out in public, so I'm assuming it's okay to say that he had a portion of his leg amputated. And that is gonna, I'm sure, slow him down considerably. So, you know, if you think about it, if you see him around, he's wheelchair bound now. Just, you know, just what a guy that has had a heart for this community. And I wish I'd have known that he was going through it. He was in the hospital for, I talked to him at the parade, I want to say it was 45 days, 60 days, something like that. I don't know exactly. But Don does a lot of things, as Councilman Hayes says, a lot under the radar. I happen to live down the street from him, and I would see him, I want to say it's every Thursday, going down to the VA to volunteer. And, you know, didn't seek any accolades for it or anything like that. And I wish I'd have knew he was in. I'd have liked to have gone down. So think about Don. Pray for him. His daughter was helping him out. You know, pray for her. It's a huge burden, I'm sure, on the family. And he's been a great asset to this community. So that's it.
Any other council comments?
Mayor?
Councilman Cisco.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Just all the Allen Park students have left. I believe this might be their last council meeting. I think graduation is coming up real quick. So congratulations to the class of 2015, Allen Park, and those other various students that live in Allen Park that go to Melvindale or Southgate or Cabrini. So congratulations to all of them. Much success in your lives, and hope you do well. Hope you continue to stay in Allen Park also. And Memorial Day Parade was good. Needs some improvements, obviously. I think we're going to work on that a little bit. And I'd like to agree with my friend Mr. Keenan's comments earlier today about division and committee. And Ms. McLeod, my recollection is that all the funds were paid for by donations, because that was a big issue at the time. How are we paying for this? Who's paying for this? We don't have any money. That was the cry, and from some on this council. And that was taken care of by donations. And some of those people on the advisory committee made some of those donations also. So I'd like to thank them. I'd like to thank the visioning committee that came after the advisory committee, that more people in the city got involved. And one of the things that does is to try to bring people together in a common cause. And what's the common cause is make Allen Park a better place. Nothing moves fast, nothing moves easy, takes time to implement things, especially when government's in charge. Moves slowly, as we all know. So I just hope everybody starts having a good summer, and as a council, that we try to act as a council and not have any other ulterior motives. That's what I would like to see. So with that, thank you and good evening.
Councilman Templin.
Got something? The strategic plan, the vision committee, I thought they did a great job. There's a lot of good ideas. I hope that we don't lose sight of all the ideas they had, and that we can continue working to improve the city. There's also something I noticed, that there's been a small group of ladies that have worked on some flower beds here in town. The ones that I have noticed, there's two ladies working up at Allen Road and Pelham. I don't know who they are. They were out there for like 2 weeks. There was a lot of work that had to be done on there. I'd like to, hopefully they're watching, I'd like to say thank you to them. And there was another small group of ladies that did the Southfield and Rosedale flower bed that it's just something that people are stepping up to do to make the city look nicer, and I'd like to thank them for their work. Good night.
Okay. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. In regard to the Memorial Day Parade, there's certain people that I want to thank you that kind of behind the scenes you might not realize what it takes to get the parade in place. Deb Zettel, the administrative assistant to the mayor and council, city administrator, and deputy city administrator, did a lot of the organizing, handling all our applications, and setting up the meetings that we had with the various people involved with the parade. Matt Doring from our DPS department patched all the holes on Park Avenue in Champaign on the parade route so nobody broke their neck parading there on Sunday. Also, city administrator had, because we had have our parks are now being cut by outside contractors, had an extra grass cutting so the Veterans Memorial Service at 3 o'clock had grounds that were properly maintained. Don Zont, a teacher who teaches government at Allen Park High School, had his Interact students out. They help us out putting up the barricades at Philomene, Champaign, and at Pelham, and also taking them down, which is a big help for our DPS department. The CERT volunteers organized by Lieutenant, oh forgive me, Lieutenant Egan, out there to help control traffic at the crossroads that weren't blockaded. And then to the Festivities Commission, who paid $1,250 for the 3 bands. Bands come and essentially donate their services, but the bus drivers that get him here and have to pick them up and take them back have to be paid, as well as time for those buses and that. And so they were very helpful in doing that. Plus, they also paid for the 2 police officers that you saw at Allen Road and Champaign. So I thank the Festivities Commission, which has taken on, as the ordinance has shown, much more help for the different things that the city does that their budget doesn't allow, and they've come forward and been a very good source for that. And for the veterans at the American Legion, particularly Mr. Babbage and Mr. Dixon, I believe, at the VFW, as Bob has said, that Mr. Iden, who for years spearheaded the Memorial Day Parade on behalf of the VFW, who unfortunately, because of health issues and having to have his amputation recently, he was able to come to the parade, but he was unable to come and help us set the parade up and also handle the memorial services. So I thank all those people for the extra effort, and we will try to find a way to engage more people in paying respects to the million servicemen and women who have died for this country. So I'll ask for an adjournment.
CERT people too, Mr. Mayor. I know you want to mention the CERT.
He mentioned it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Sorry.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion, Mayor.
Second.
Motion by DeGiulio, supported by Keenan. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 6 minutes before 8, we are adjourned.